Okay, guys. Hello. Oh, hi. It echoes in here. Sorry. I'm used to yelling really loud in here, so sorry if my voice gets loud. Good morning, everyone. My name's Chad. If I haven't met any of you, my name's Chad Franco. I own CrossFit 5 Cities, and I met Coach Chris a couple months, 2 months ago, maybe. So we've been working together, putting this little workshop together. One of the big things we focus on in here, and what's part of our mission in CrossFit 5 Cities, is helping empower individuals to just become a more fit, healthy version of themselves. And that involves not just the physical aspect that we teach here, but obviously a lot of it is mental. And that's what we're bringing in the pro, Mr. Coach Chris, for. So I'm going to go ahead and let him do his thing. And I just want to welcome everyone, make sure everyone's comfortable, got a seat. Everyone get their coffee and omelet ordered from the desk up front when they got here. Oh, maybe you missed that. Sorry. That's okay. All right. Coach.
Popcorn.
Well, thanks, Chad, and thanks, Dr. Dan. We're actually live online today, too. These technology guys, it's pretty cool. They just told us that this morning. So do want to welcome everybody that's here and everybody online. You know, I'm going to go through my story here a little bit, but I love being in the gym. This is my roots. You're going to tell after I share my story that this is kind of where I grew up, in a gym. So I'm really comfortable in this atmosphere. And but I do want to talk a little bit about, you know, choices and decisions. Do you know that our lives today are basically based on a sum total of all your choices and decisions? Would you agree? You know, some are good, some aren't so good, but we're where we're at today based on the choices and decisions that we made. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today, the mindset piece. But this phenomena about why is it that so many times we go from being excited about something to just never crossing the finish line and quitting. And you know, when I was talking with Chad initially, what would you like me to deliver today, you know, as it relates to the mindset piece of what can we give to the athletes that are part of CrossFit and those that are joining us here that maybe aren't part of CrossFit. And it was like, why is it that people make a commitment to do something and they just don't do it? I'm going to work out 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 5 days a week, and they have all the right intentions, but they just somehow don't muster it up, right? There's always some kind of an excuse that gets in the way or some reason. And, you know, I think people want to be successful. A lot of times they just don't know how. And that is all in the mind. And so I'm here today to talk to you about my own experience. You know, there's a lot of great coaches, speakers out there that are delivering some good messages. But I think from integrity, when you're going to listen to somebody, you really want to listen to somebody who's got real life experience. So I'm going to share my story. And then the information that I'm going to share with you guys today, is really based on thousands and thousands of people that I've trained over the last 30 plus years. And originally it was in the gym, and then after that it gets to be more of in the mindset piece. So people that were stay-at-home moms that just had a baby to elite athletes and everything in between as far as health and fitness, and then also mindset. Why do people sabotage themselves in certain areas of their lives? So we're going to kind of break down and unpeel this 90-day phenomena that everyone, you know, if we can't get past 90 days, forget the 6-month, 1 year, 5 year, 10 year goals, right? But if we can get past the 90 days and the other ones come. So why is it that some make it and some don't? So how many want to reach their full potential in CrossFit and in life? Right? Every part of our life. So how are we going to get you from point A to point B? How many people are really doing well with CrossFit right now that are ready for a breakthrough, maybe, to the next level? They want to go to the next level. How about life? You're in a challenge right now and you want to go to another level in your life, okay? So how are we going to get you from point A to point B? Well, this is the muscle we're going to work. The mind fit muscle, okay? Having spent my life in the gym too, and when I was younger, I thought it was, you know, all about working with my body and everything. But as I started to grow and learn that, you know, what gave me that drive was really coming from here. You know, what separates the people that do cross the finish line and the ones that don't. So here's what we're going to talk a little bit about today. I'm going to share my story because I think it's really important, and if you're paying attention, there's going to be a lot of things in my story that are going to tie into my presentation, because there's things that I learned on my journey that really got me here to speak to you guys today. And just personal experiences, principles that I put into play in my life that had results in my life and for the thousands of people that I worked with. There was kind of a common thread that I saw from those that were able to hit their goal and those that didn't. And I learned a lot from those that didn't, because trust me, I had plenty of goals I set that I didn't reach either, okay? And so I want to weave into my story. Then we're going to talk about this 90-day cycle that people get themselves on, and then how we actually create our own story. Everybody sitting here today has their own story, your own life story. It may be serving you well, it may not be. But we create our own life story based on choices and decisions we make. And then, how many would like to turn their goals into reality? Yeah. Okay? All right, so I'm going to take you back in time. You're going to date me now. Some of you guys that are young, and ladies that are young here, do you guys know Rocky 1? Anyone ever see the Rocky 1 movie? Okay, 1975 now. I'm a junior in high school. 140 pounds, soaking wet, afraid of my own shadow, didn't play sports, frustrated in life, hated school, was that kid that sat in the back of the room and, disrupted the whole class so I could get in trouble and go to the principal's office so that I didn't have to do my schoolwork. So, it was really a tough time for me in life, trying to find my way. And because I was so small, I didn't even have the nerve to go out and play a sport. And I was one of those guys that really did get sand kicked in his face. But sometimes when that frustration gets so bad, that's usually where change comes in. So I heard about this movie, Rocky. And I share that because I really believe that there are certain things in our lives, people, circumstances, situations, that change our life or change the path that we choose to go on. I was not heading down a good path. Now, my mom's here tonight, so I'm not going to share too many of the things here. She still doesn't know all of the things, but I was not going down a good path. And that movie, whatever it was, it inspired me. Sylvester Stallone was the underdog, and he made it. And whatever it was, whatever that message was in that movie, just changed my life. It just all of a sudden gave me a focus. And so I started to realize that the power of setting goals. I didn't have a coach, a mentor, I didn't know, but in that movie it inspired me enough to say, wow, if that guy can do it, I can do it. Now this is just a movie, but I was in the movie, I loved it, I still love it. I can't get the family to watch Rocky 1 with me anymore. But so that was at 15, 16 years old. So at 18, I finally mustered the point to set some goals. And that movie really got me thinking and the frustration. And so, I was inspired by watching Rocky change his body. And I thought, wow, I want to be a professional bodybuilder. Now, I'm telling people that, and they're like, this guy's really nuts. He's 140 pounds, weakling. He wants to be someday a professional bodybuilder. And, at that time, Arnold Schwarzenegger was just coming out of bodybuilding, a big name, was starting to get into movies, and one of my goals was to meet Arnold. And then I wanted to open my own gym. These are some goals I set at 18, and become a successful businessman. So at age 21, I opened my first gym. Now, I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth, right, Mom? We were pretty poor. My mom raised 5 kids on her own, so nobody wrote a check to open the gym. So let's just get that clear right now. It was not an easy task, but I just realized, looking back, that there was myself and 2 other guys that just had this burning desire to open a gym. Now, I graduated high school with a high school education, did not go to college. Okay? So everybody told me I was nuts. At the time, I was working as an auto mechanic. I thought that's what I was going to do the rest of my life, but I had these goals, and everyone thought I was nuts opening a gym. Have anyone ever experienced that in your life where you had big dreams and you shared them with people just for them to tell you you're crazy? But here's what I understood at a young age. When someone said I was crazy, don't do it, I realized I was on the right path. Because I thought everyone else is going to follow these people right off the cliff. I'm not going to do that. So at 21, I opened my own gym. I had no clue what I was doing. Probably spent $1 million on my education over the years and learning how to run a business, but it was great. And then I competed in my first bodybuilding show. So 140 pounds, never lifted a weight, never played a sport. So for me, bodybuilding became my sport. My first trophy I ever got was in bodybuilding. And then as my body started changing, my self-confidence started to increase. My self-esteem started getting bigger and stronger. Then at age 22, I met Arnold. Amazing how things happen when you set the intention, right? Everyone said I was crazy, that'll never happen, how are you going to do it? I didn't know how I was going to meet Arnold. I just knew one day I was going to meet him. And then by age 27, I became one of the top amateur bodybuilders in bodybuilding. I never reached the professional level in bodybuilding, but I did hit the top level of amateur, and I realized at that time in my life, I didn't need to be a professional bodybuilder anymore because I reached some of my goals. So here's a picture of 1981 where I met Arnold. You see him in the middle there, and I'm in my auto mechanics outfit there. Arnold just got back from filming Conan, the first Conan movie. He was in San Jose, in the Bay Area, coming to a store that I used to buy a lot of my equipment and supplements from. And the guy called me up and said, "Hey, Arnold's going to come in town. You want to come and see him?" I said, "Hold on, let me think about that for a little bit." Yeah, boom. Some of the guys from the gym ran down there, and it was really interesting talking to Arnold at that time, having read his books, and it was like a goal to meet him, right? And I still have a book that he autographed, The Education of a Bodybuilder. And listening to him, some people would think he was arrogant. Maybe today you still think he's arrogant. We're not going to get into the politics of Arnold or anything, but he was sharing his goals that he set when he was, in third grade. He was really inspirational. Some of the goals that he set that he achieved. And he said, "Look, if people are talking about you, that means you made it. When your name gets written on the bathroom wall, don't look at it as a bad thing, look at it as a success. Because no one's talking about you unless they're worried about you." Now at 21, I really didn't understand all that, but because Arnold was talking about it, I thought, well, it must be good. So it was an interesting time meeting him. There's a picture of my gym. When I first opened a gym in 1980, it was a men's only bodybuilding gym. 1980, women really weren't into it yet. So my goal and focus was to be a bodybuilder, so we opened up a bodybuilding gym. It became the #1 bodybuilding and powerlifting gym in Northern California. Every bodybuilding competition and powerlifting competition was won by the guys that worked out in our gym. You talk about focus. Now, it wasn't pretty. It was not pretty. The carpet had holes in it, right? I mean, women wouldn't even walk in. Dogs would look inside the gym and go, hey, turn their way. But the focus, the camaraderie, and what I saw people changing their bodies was just an amazing experience that I'll never forget. And that was my last competition. I won the AAU Mr. California, and that was a goal of mine. I took it to the top level, and that was a lot of fun. It's amazing because in that picture, about 245 pounds and about 4% body fat. Not easy to get there. Remember, I was 140 pounds soaking wet, in school, and the only reason my body changed was because in my mind, and I know it. It just didn't give it up. And I'm not sharing all this to impress you about anything, but just to impress upon you some of the principles that I'm going to share today. When we set an intention and we set a goal, and we just don't deviate from it. How many people, if you're honest, set a goal and you deviate from it, right? But when we don't, good things happen. And so remember, one of the goals was to be a successful businessman. So as I was winding down my career in bodybuilding, I retired from competitive bodybuilding in 1987. And in 1988, I expanded my men's only bodybuilding gym at 4,000 square feet into 8,000 square feet. And we had to open it up for women now. They were banging on the doors. They were going to sue me if I didn't open it up. So we doubled in size, from 4,000 to 8,000 feet. And then in 1990, we expanded into 20,000 feet. Then they did an article about this guy that was a bodybuilder that became a businessman. And I said, actually, I was a businessman and a bodybuilder at the same time, but it was just kind of interesting because remember those goals that I set. And then these guys come to me and say, I want to do an article about you going from bodybuilder to businessman. One of the goals was to be a successful businessman. So really interesting what happens. But then in 1994, my life changed. I was married at the time and went through a divorce, lost everything. Everything. And so everybody would say, oh my God, poor Chris. So 36 years old, everything I built, my dream, the gym, that was like my baby. I had to close it down. And it was not a pretty sight. It was really, really a tough time in my life. And so the easy thing to do would have been just give up and go get a job and do all that. But then I thought, you know what? No, I'm not going to get down. What can I do? What do I know? So I started thinking, well, what is it that I know? I know how to work out. So I started a personal training business. That led into building home gyms for all these rich people in Silicon Valley. You know, they were building homes 10, 15, 20,000 square feet. So I started building home gyms. And so it didn't take me long to forget about that failure that could have been really a tough time. But I just thought, what can I glean on? What was it that I learned that I can use today to move forward? So I learned at that point, failures are good, right? They don't teach that in school. But we do need to learn from our failures, and failures could be some of your biggest blessings. I really believe it. But again, it's in the mindset of how do we look at that failure? Is it a learning experience or is it for you? Because we've all had failures. Then I started a home-based distribution business of distributing products, nutritional products all around the world. That led into a full-time distribution business. 2007, I started to get into consulting and coaching, more specifically with individuals and large sales teams. So I've coached thousands and thousands of sales teams out there that are in the direct selling industry on how to increase and build their business. And what I learned was everything in the gym, when people came to me that wanted to get in better shape, nutritionally, or their body in better shape, was no different than the person that came to me later on and said, my relationships, I want to work on my relationships. It's all here. We sabotage ourselves in other areas, but to help somebody that's stuck on a weight problem or a fitness problem is no different than somebody stuck in other personal problems. It's still in the mind. What is it in our mind that sabotages ourselves? Why do we sabotage ourselves in certain areas? We all know what we should do, right? Why don't we do it? I mean, let's be honest. Why don't we do it? We know what to eat, what not to eat, what to, how to treat people, how to not treat people, all the things we know what to do, but why don't we do it? There's something in our mind, in our head that is stopping us from doing that. And so that brings us to today. Still working with people. I absolutely love what I do, and I've learned a lot. Almost 35 years of doing this now, getting into people's heads, and it's really fun because they come to me. At first, it's usually, Chris, I'm struggling with my weight, I want to get in better shape. And in about an hour, we have that onion peeled back, and we have all other kinds of conversations about why are they at that place in their life. And then you start to peel it back, you realize they're struggling maybe in relationships too in other areas, because a lot of the things that are holding them back in that one area may be holding us back in other areas. So let's go into this 90-day, cycle. Now, does that look familiar to anybody? There you are with your goals and dreams, and then everybody is telling you, no, you can't make it. Your friends, your family, the naysayers, fear and guilt gets in the way, right? And then all of a sudden the goals look like really, really a long way away. Have any of you really ever experienced that from the time you wrote your goals down to the finish line of what it's going to take to do that, and then allow these people with the bats to take you out? Because they do if you let them. And so what I want to share with you today is this 90-day cycle. Now look, I know everybody's heard this Harvard study of this goal-setting phenomenon, right? That only 3% of people ever set their goals. Well, let me tell you that study never existed. So I'll lay it straight today, and it's been out there for years, and we've all been using it. I used to use it for years myself, until I used it with this guy that was one of my business mentors. And he said, Chris, before you go out and start sharing things, you better do your research, because that study never existed. And for 20 years, people kept using that Harvard study that only 3% of the people set goals, and we track these people over time, and here's what's happened. Not true. That study does not exist. It's amazing. So I'm going to give you some numbers based on the people that I've worked with and what I see. So when you think about the starting point, how many people think in their mind about their goals? How many people do you think? What is the percentage of people that actually have that thought about a goal, wanting to achieve something? What's the percentage? 100%. Everybody, 100%, right? And we know that because when New Year's comes around, everybody makes New Year's resolutions, right? It was interesting. When I was in the gym business, everybody would make their New Year's resolutions. Our busiest months was really in February, because it took them all of January to go get their sweatsuit, their tennis shoes, and get ready to go into the gym, and then they never would do it, and then within 3 weeks to 5 weeks, 6 weeks, they quit, right? Now here's the scary part. Out of that 80% of the 100%, from the time they think about it to where they have their goals to the finish line, 80% of them never even make it there. They quit. Usually within 3 weeks, believe it or not. Pretty powerful. Now, 20% of them just continue to go on that cycle for about a year. And this is after being in the gym business for 15 years and coaching people, watching the patterns that people have. And so some just stay on that cycle. They don't get the goal, but they still keep going. They don't get the goal, and they still keep going. And after a year, about 20% finally quit. And about 10% for the rest of their lives just go through the motions, even though they don't hit their goal. And in some cases, people are even going backwards. Now these are those that are not writing their goals out. This is just in their mind. And see what happens? This is why this cycle just keeps happening and people commit. I was talking with Chad earlier because we share some of the same experiences being in a gym arena, in that how many times people say, I'm going to come work out 2 days a week, 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 5 days a week. Do people follow through with that all the time, Chad? No. and so it's amazing that we get excited and we do it. Well, why do we continue to just sabotage ourselves? Now, as far as the written goals, how many people do you think, well, again, this is a statistic of the people that I've worked with, but here's what I found. About 20% of the people that I've worked with and in my gym, 20% of them say they've written goals down at some point in time in their life. Now, I know that the Harvard study says 3%, but we know that that study doesn't really exist. I'm giving you real life numbers of people that I've worked with for over 30 years. So about 20% say that they write their goals down. Okay? And out of that, about 10% actually achieve them. What do you think is the difference between those that don't achieve them and the ones that do achieve them? Persistence, yes. What? Focus.
Changing up things if it's not working.
Changing.
They read their goals every day.
They read their goals every day. They believe in their goals. They don't give up. They're willing to do whatever it takes to get there. And that's the difference. Because even though people write goals down, still doesn't mean they're going to get to the finish line. Right, Mark? You've been in a lot of these programs, teach a goal-setting program yourself. Would you agree? I mean, so just from taking it to your head to writing it down on a piece of paper is still not enough. There's still other things that you have to do. And so what ends up happening is it's really the limiting beliefs that fall into our head that kind of give us this poor self-image of ourselves, and that's why we take ourselves out. That's the reality. Because the mind starts talking all these crazy things, and then before you know it, you guys are great at coming up with excuses. I mean, in all the years in business, when I was running my health club, when someone was late to work, I said, don't even tell me. There's no excuse. I've heard it all. Trust me. In 30 years, I've heard every excuse why someone's late. So my policies and procedures, I used to have 15 minutes early is on time. Okay, so that'll make up for that excuse if your cat got out. But again, it's these limiting beliefs that our mind starts to convince us of that take us out of really pursuing the things that are important to us. So here's what the dictionary says about mindset. A set of beliefs or a way of thinking that determines one's behavior, outlook, and mental attitude. Would you guys agree with that? Pretty powerful. You might want to copy that, get a copy of that out of the dictionary and keep that with you. So I want to ask you guys a question now. We're going to start getting into the meat of this, is how do you see yourself? Where you are today in your life? Do you see yourself as a victim or a victor? How many of you say, oh my God, the world, it's tough out there. I'm watching too much TV, reading the newspaper, and life is just not fair. Things are bad. We all get caught up in it. If we watch the news and read the newspaper enough, we're going to get into that victim mindset because the programming that our great government is good at is really teaching us to become victims. They want us to become victims because they're going to save everything. And if we start to believe that, we take that into the rest of our life too. So one of the best things you can do is shut the TV off, stop reading the newspaper. All right? Because if you watch it long enough, I'm telling you, it will screw up your mind. We've shut the TV off. My daughter's is 12 when she was how old, Julie?
4.
4. We shut the TV off. So we control all the information that comes into our household. Now she fought it for a little while, and now she doesn't have any choice, but she's figured it out. It's not that bad, But the stuff that's out there today, guys, it's just bombarding our brains. And I was just sharing with Mark and a few others, in the last 5 years, I've worked with thousands of people, but in the last 5 years, I feel like people are in this blank denial space. It's weird. And I've seen it just rampant over the last 5 years. The only thing I can attribute that to is the media. That we are just getting more and more numb to everything and almost believing that it's okay that we blame, drama, denial, excuses, complaining, right? Versus taking ownership, having responsibility, being accountable, and looking at every problem as an opportunity, right? If we all moved up that line, because look I've been in a victim place before too. We've all been there. It happens, it's easy. But if we could just rethink that, right? And just start moving up that line a little bit more and realize that everything that happens to you in life is 100% your responsibility. Doesn't feel good though. It's kind of nice to blame people. I grew up in a Catholic church, so I hope I don't offend any, But no, there's this funny thing about fear and guilt, right? And so, don't want to, upset anybody on that. But it's like, or blame, and do this, and do that. And so I'm saying is that what if we took 100% responsibility for everything that we have in our life today, good and bad? Would that change things a little bit?
Amen.
How about self-talk? So we see the way we are, victim or victor, but how do we talk to ourselves? Here's a big one that I hear today a lot. My parents are both overweight. I guess I'll always be fat because it's in my genes. Versus, my genes aren't my destiny. I know I can lose weight with healthier habits. Right? Just read some of these things. I tried to pick some of the best ones. Here's another great one. If we ever get the right president in the White House, I'll feel more secure about my financial future. How about, as the head of my household, I'm 100% responsible for securing my financial future. See the difference and distinction of how we can fall into the victim mindset versus responsible mindset? It's just the way we talk to ourselves. Life sucks when I'm on a diet. I make my own fun through friends and activities. Food is only fuel for my body. So if you started just that one distinction, if you didn't learn anything today other than just that, and look at food as fuel, it's going to change your entire way of thinking about food. It's amazing because there's a lot of problems. People have issues around food. So here's how we create our story. Remember I talked about we all are living in our own story based on our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. So it all starts right here with what we think, and then what we feel, and then what we do. And we just keep doing that over and over and over, then we create our own life story. So wherever we are here today, the story that you tell everybody, you've created it. How many don't like their story? It's okay to be honest. I don't like mine all the time. But we tell ourselves this story over and over. Before you know it, you're convincing yourself that it's okay for me to be in this victim story. And again, it's just a decision to change from victim to victor. It's a decision that you can make. Not anyone else, but you. And so let's take a look at your story as it relates to everybody sitting in the room here. If we're honest with ourselves, again, you don't have to raise your hands, but thinking to yourself, are you a starter or a finisher? Are you really good at starting things? Really good at it, but never finish? Pay attention to that. Again, today is just about giving you a lot of information that I've just learned over 30 years of working with so many people, and you look at those that succeed and those that struggle, and it all comes down to this. These certain principles that I'm sharing with you guys today, real life experience. So if there's a lot of things you do in your life that you start and you never finish, pay attention to that. Why is that? Failures. Have you allowed your failures to stop you? Most because we were taught in school that failure is bad. I don't like the school system because of the A, B, C, D, and F. I mean, again, hopefully there's no, well, there is a school teacher in here, but we've had that conversation anyway, so not going to offend anybody. But the grading system, so these poor kids think that if I get a C or D, I'm a failure. Man, I was an absolute failure. I graduated with a D minus. I didn't care. All I wanted to do was get my diploma. I didn't care what it said. I had a different goal. But failure, we look at failure as a bad thing. I say applaud failure. Just because if you're not failing, you're not learning, right? How do you know it? Nobody just gets up one day and, became Bill Gates overnight, right? I'm sure he had his sets of failures too. And then here's a big one. Have you learned from your accomplishments and your achievements? So when I was sharing with you today mine, it wasn't to impress you about anything that Chris did, but there were some learning experiences in some of my accomplishments and achievements when I was early in my life, so that when I hit that really bad time in 1994, and my life just totally fell apart, then what I did was I leaned on my other accomplishments and achievements and dug deep and gave me the power to move forward instead of staying stuck where I could have been. And so here's what I want to share with you guys today. These are the 4 principles that if you really pay attention, and it might seem simple, but what I try to do is take 30 years of stuff in my head and data and boil it down into really simple things that you can think about. And I'm going to have some things that you can take with you. So can you guys pass some of these out? So that you can go home and do some homework. But this is what I call the 4 principles of turning goals into reality. Desire, time, money, and people. And I'm going to break them down. And it may seem really simple, but when you see why I came up with desire, time, money, and people and break them out, you're going to see how profound this really is. Because I think one of the reasons a lot of people don't set goals either is it gets too overwhelming for them. Anybody ever be overwhelmed with setting goals? All right, so let's look at desire. Goals and dreams. So when you think of your goals and dreams, here's what I found. There's a lot of times in coaching, when I'm working with somebody, they come to me and they already have their goals. By the time I go through some exercises with them, half the goals they have on their paper end up coming off. They thought that those were important goals, but they really weren't. So when you think about the goals and dreams that you have, why do you really want them? And here's the big one, who are you going to become as a result of that? So burning desire. See, when I saw Rocky, I had a burning desire to change my life. I didn't care. I would do anything to change my life. A burning desire. So when you look at your goals, if you don't have that burning desire in your gut, take it off your list. Because you're not going to do it. You're not. Period. So what does that do? That actually creates the clarity that you need. And you've got to be able to see that goal that's already accomplished. That it's done. Not just see the goal, but see that it's done. Rehearse it in your mind. You know, when I was thinking about becoming a professional bodybuilder at 140 pounds, I had to look at pictures that looked a lot better than I did at 140 pounds. I had to believe that the goal was already accomplished, that I could reach that. I had no idea how I was going to get there. So you got to look at the goal as already have been accomplished. You got to see it, you got to feel it, you got to believe it. And here's the big one where most people fail. Deserve it. Most of the time that people are stuck in their goals, that hold them back is because they don't believe they're worthy of having that goal. That, I'm telling you, out of all three of those are the biggest one. The deserving part of it. Because that goes to your self-image. Okay? And hey, look, your goal is your goal. Absolutely you deserve it. That's the attitude that you have to take. Then here's the big one. This is one of my favorite sayings. My family would attest to. Decision. Make a decision. Success is a mindset. Right? Make excuses to be successful. We make excuses all day long. So you're already learned how to make excuses. So just make excuses to be successful. Just a little tweak in the mindset, right? But again, it's a decision that you have to make. But I break it down. The desire drives the clarity. The clarity gets you to a decision. And then here's the big one, commitment. This is tough. So a lot of times when I'm working with somebody and they're not getting to their goals, the commitment is a big one. A lot of people have issues around commitment. Because if I commit something, that means I got to be held accountable to it. I don't want to be held accountable, so I'm not going to commit. You see how the mind keeps screwing with our head. But here's what I found. When you make that strong commitment, the unwavering commitments eliminate the excuses. All of a sudden, the excuses are gone because you've committed to something that's important to you. And then that drives the discipline. That's what gets you into the gym every day of the week that you say you're going to get into the gym. Discipline is the bridge between your goals and accomplishment. Just remember, that's the bridge. And a lot of this stuff that I learned, again, I learned in the gym. And watching those that succeeded, it's amazing how much. That's why I love being in this place here, Chad. I just feel back at home. But, you know, if you guys can master what you do here, for those of you that are in CrossFit, and what Chad and his instructors teach here, you will master every other area of your life. The discipline that you will get from doing what you say you're going to do about getting in here and following through with your exercises, you will take that same discipline in the other areas of your life. Period. It will happen. Time. This is a big one. You got goals, you got to put some time into them, right? You know, so you got to put together an action plan to have end dates on it. Don't just write a goal and leave it there. You got to, have an end date to it. And then spend 10% of your time on the obstacles and 90% of the time on the solutions. For most people, it's the other way around. They're spending 90% of their time on the obstacles and talking about why they can't get to the goal or why they can't plan it and put it in their planner. So if you join CrossFit, you said, commit to Chad, I'm going to do this 3 days a week, and you don't come 3 days a week, I'm sure you probably are on that 90% of the obstacle side, figuring out all the obstacles that are allowing you not to come to the gym. Prioritize and schedule your day. Read and listen to your goals morning and night. So not only read them, but on your iPhone, record them. So you're reading it and you're recording it. You're getting it into your mind.
Well, speaking them out loud first.
Speaking them out loud, you're one step ahead of me.
Sorry.
That's all right. Keep a journal, okay? And write down all your successes and failures. And anchor those in to your consciousness and into the physiology of your body. What did it feel like when I had that success, no matter how little it is? What did that feel like? Look at that, just feel it. But also do that with your failures too. What did that feel like? What can I learn into that? But journal all that stuff. It's important. Most people spend more time planning a vacation and taking notes on their vacation than they do for the whole life. And then they wonder what happens at the end of their life why they don't have what they wanted. A health management journal. I'm big on this. Keep track of your exercise routine and rest and recovery. For some of us guys that like to overtrain, we've got to have a balance. So you want to track everything and put in your calendar your rest days. Because sometimes us that are really intense don't take enough rest days, and then we've got to spend a lot of time with Dr. Dan over there as a result of not resting. And your eating habits, okay? Keep track of your eating habits. Chart your food. The food today, the food system today is so screwed up, okay? Keep track of what you're eating and how you feel. So that you can figure out on your own that, you know, I've been eating this food for so long, I just feel like crap. Well, then get it out of your diet. But you don't know that if you're just a zombie driving up to the fast food or eating whatever junk you want to put in your mouth. You don't know what's making you feel good or not feel good, right? Chart everything. Write it down. Keep track of it. It's your body. Money. Here's a big one. Relationship with money. How did that feel when that money side came across the slide? Be honest now. What happens in the mind? A lot of times people hear about money and they get all these weird emotions about it. Like it's evil or trust me, coached a lot of people. And they all of a sudden they hear money, get rich, be a millionaire, whatever, any of that, whatever people's goals are. But they get a really weird energy in their stomach about money. Well, money's a relationship. So I can tell you this, if you're struggling with money, you're probably struggling with relationships in your life too. Take a look at that. Money is a relationship. And a lot of people have a problem with money. And if you have a problem with money, like it doesn't feel right, or somebody's talking about it, you probably don't have it. So just look at the money things a bit. Would be surprised. Again, I'm giving you guys information from people I've coached over and over and over, and almost 9 times out of 10, someone struggling with money issues around money have the same problem with relationship with other people. It's a relationship issue. So look at that. Cost versus investment in value. Do you look at things that are important to you that, oh my God, it's going to cost me money? Or do you look at it as it's an investment and I'm getting value out of what it is that I'm going to spend? Big difference. So when I'm coaching people like on food, and I say you should be eating grass-fed, you should be eating organic, whole food, all these other things, first thing they say, it's too expensive. Is it? I mean, again, it costs more money. It costs more money. But here's what I do know. Having been in this field for 35 years, working with people that are healthy and people that aren't healthy, that you're going to pay sooner or later. Guarantee you, you will pay sooner or later that it's going to catch up to you. Okay, invest in your goals. So if a goal is important to you, are you going to invest in it? You know, have you set aside money in your budget to invest in your goal so that that's not your excuse? So you've got to invest in your goals. Follow your passion and not the money, though. When I had that goal to open up a gym, I didn't even think about what I was going to make. I had no clue. I didn't have a business major or anything. I just wanted to open a gym. That was my passion. And for 15 years, I had great success in the gym business. Never focused on what I wanted to make in the gym. It's just that was a passion of mine. So if there's something that you're passionate about, guess what's going to happen? You're probably going to make a good living doing what your passion is. And then the passion will lead to opportunity. So people, Coaches and mentors, okay? If you've got goals, you gotta surround yourself with coaches and mentors that can help you with your goals. Would you agree?
Yes.
And if you don't have the money to pay for a coach, find somebody that books are great, tapes, watch, audios, videos. There's so much out there that you can glean off of, but find somebody that can be a coach or a mentor for you that will help you reach your goals. And this is a big one. 5 closest friends. What that means is that you will become the average of the 5 closest people that you spend time with. Who are you spending time with? Are they taking you closer to your goals or further away? Are they on the victim scale or the victor scale? Guarantee you, if you're struggling some area in your life, the friends that you're hanging out with are probably struggling in the same areas. Something to really look at. And I like to always have a little fun with it. Sometimes, as much as we love our family, our closest family members, and some of our closest friends, we got to do a family and friendectomy. And you got to just love them from afar, but don't let them bog you down, because they think what they're doing is they're going to save you. They're protecting you. Not bad, it's just be careful. Be careful. Can I get a hand? Is that true, you guys? Okay, so training partners, big thing, right? CrossFit, get your training partner, somebody that's into the same thing you're into. I used to love my training partners. I still talk to those guys today, after 35 years later. Some of the greatest relationships ever happened. Again, they're going to hold you accountable. And so, for those of you that maybe aren't in the gym and you don't have a training partner, get an accountability partner. Somebody that will hold you accountable and say you're going to do what you're going to do. And here it is, Dan. Verbalize and share your goals with everybody. Here's why. If you're not willing to go share your goals with anyone in here, then it's not a goal. It's just some dream that you think. But if you really are passionate about your goals, share it with everybody. And here's what you're going to find. Some are going to go, "Oh, you nuts?" Boom. Get them out of your life. Move them over here. But share your goals and dreams. You know why? Because people are going to want to help you get there. They really will. And you may inspire somebody else by just going out and being bold enough to share your goals and dreams. Don't be shy to do that. That's that verbalizing your goals. Okay, kind of wrapping it up here. I think we're going to hit it on time. Here's what I call my 5 secrets to achieving full potential. Again, taking everything that I've learned in 30 years. Number 1, believe in yourself. You've got to believe in yourself. Sometimes, it's got to start there. No matter what anybody says, no matter what your circumstances are, you've got to believe in yourself, and you want to know, who do you want to become? Because that's going to drive you to do the things that you're going to do. It's going to eliminate the excuses, all the other garbage that gets in the way. But why is it that you want to do that? But really believe in yourself. Because if you're waiting for someone else to believe in you before you're successful, you may not ever get there. Take control. It's your life. Here's a big one. Welcome failure and be decisive. Just make a decision even if you know you're going to fail. It's okay. We should start giving awards for failure in school. Right? Why not? That means they tried, or they put their best foot forward. And I believe in the power of now o'clock. Okay, so live today with the end in mind. See, when I was in the gym and in my 20s, I never thought I was ever going to die. Now I'm 55, and 160 is getting a little closer now. I'm going to end up there one day. No, really. Live today with the end in mind, because we're all going to get there. Part of living is dying, and so what is it that we're going to do in there? But live today with that in mind. Most of us don't. Here's the other one. Be a rebel. Don't listen to the naysayers. Just don't do it. I learned that early on. If I listened to everybody around me, other than my mom, I got to say, there was only two people supportive in my life back when I opened my gym in 1980. My mom and this attorney that just felt like he wanted to mentor 3 young men that had a dream. Only 2 people in my entire life that said, go for it. The heck with the auto mechanic's job, just go into the gym. You're only 21. If it doesn't make it, start all over. But if I had listened to, I'm telling you, a pretty good slew of naysayers, I woun't be sitting here today talking to you. So be a rebel. We need more rebels out here. Right, Hillary? And then invest in your dream. And invest in yourself. That includes what you put in your body, what you don't put in your body, whether you go to CrossFit, or you get out and you exercise, do something, but invest in your goals and dreams. And I hope that one of those is your health. Because without that body, it's going to be tough to do all the things that you want to do. The best investment you can make really is in yourself, in your body, and in your mind. And when you do, it's amazing how things change in your life. Really, really profound. So, as we wrap up, I started this conversation out with choices and decisions. I want to read something to you. There's a nurse that was in Canada that spent 30 years working with people that were in their final days of life. And she charted all the conversations she had with all these people that were dying and came up with what she calls the 5 regrets. And I'm reading this to you for a reason as it relates to choices and decisions. Pay attention to this, because remember what I said, that one of the successes was now o'clock, live today with the end in mind, because the end will come someday. Let me read these to you. And remember, these are people that were in their final days of their hospice, and they were a few weeks to a few months of life. I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. Anybody have a tendency to live that kind of a life? When people realize that their life is almost over and look back clearly on it, it is easy to see how many dreams have gone unfulfilled. Most people had not honored even half of their dreams and had to die knowing that it was due to choices they had made or not made. Number 2, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. This came from every male patient I nursed. They missed their children's youth and their partner's companionship. Women also spoke of this regret, but most of them were from an older generation. Many of the female patients had not been breadwinners. All of the men I nursed deeply regretted spending so much of their lives on a treadmill of work existence. Number 3, I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. Many people suppress their feelings in order to keep peace with others. As a result, they settled for a mediocre existence and never became who they were truly capable of becoming. Many developed illnesses relating to the bitterness and resentment they carried as a result. Number 4, I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. There were many deep regrets about not giving friendships the time, the effort that they deserve. Everyone misses their friends when they are dying. Number 5, I wish I had let myself be happier. Big one. Many did not realize until the end that happiness is a choice. They had stayed stuck in their old patterns and habits. This so-called comfort of familiarity overflowed into their emotions as well as their physical lives. Fear of change had them pretending to others and to themselves that they were content, when deep within they longed to laugh properly and have silliness in their life again. So I came up with this 6th regret that I hope is not going to be a regret. But if we stay on this pattern that we're staying on right now, this is going to be a big regret for this generation. And that is, I wish I had made better decisions when it came to my health. We can change this regret. You guys can change those other 5 regrets. We're going to get there at some point. Not that, we're going to a worse place. I mean, we all know there's a better place. But the thing of it is do you really want to be facing that place, talking to that nurse about the regrets that you have? And it's really, you guys, it's just all based on choices and decisions. So life is a choice. It's your life. Be proactive and choose wisely. That's it. Well, we wanted to respect the time, and we got done at a little before 1, but depending on your guys' schedule, I do want to be, in time integrity, but I will answer any questions and stay as long as you want me to stay. I'll stay. I just need some water. Julie, can you give me some water? Any questions? Yes,
Did you write a book? Is it for sale?
I did. Called Lessons from the Gym for Young Adults. So you can go to Amazon.com and Lessons from the Gym for Young Adults. Yeah. And a lot of those principles are in that book. I have a big passion for kids, but here's what I figured out. And I was going down the wrong path. I was going to create all these programs for the youth, and I realized that the parents had to get them there and the parents had to pay for it. If I can't get mom and dad's head on straight, I can't fix their kids. So I'm still got a big passion for youth, and I'm going to be doing something with that, but I really want to help mom and dad too, so that we can get to the youth. The youth are on a destruction path right now, and they all have parents, and we got to help mom and dad get their head straight. Mark.
Yeah, just a quick point about the book. Guys, if you haven't read it, if you have children or you know anybody that has children, whether they're preteens, teens, or even young adults, this is a must. You want to get a copy. Chris does a great job in it. You got just a flavor today, and I just wanted to apply to Chris and make sure everybody knows it is a great book.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, I've seen it turn a teenage boy. Just read that book, and now he's way different life just from that book.
If you just change one.
Yeah. Then the family dynamic changed too.
Yeah.
The teenager was angry. It's not eat for everybody.
No, it's not.
He's not. He's working with his father and doing all sorts of cool stuff. So
Hey, our kids could be the inspiration that you can get mom and dad to change too. Right? It's a family dynamic. Dan.
Here's a tough question, Chris. What are the top things you see that people are sabotaging themselves with? They don't know they're sabotaging themselves. Because you talk a lot about denial, right? Denial, the way I see it, is somebody's doing something that's self-destructive and you don't know. What are things you see that people doing that they don't know?
Well, I think
Repeat the question.
he was saying that, what, if I understood the question, why don't you come up here and shout it out there, everybody, Dan?
My question was,
Come up here. They want to look at you anyway. Because I might read it back and goof it all up. I got ADD.
my question to Chris was, what are the decisions that he sees in his coaching position that people make they don't know is potentially damaging to them? Because I think all of us that are in this room try to make the right decisions, but sometimes we make decisions that we think are the right thing that could actually be more harmful than good.
Oh, great question. So what happens is that what I like to do is sit down and work with somebody, kind of look at their life right now, what's working, what's not working, and based on their goals, where they want to go. As Dan said, a lot of people aren't making the right decisions on that, and they think they do. So what I like to do is really help them unpeel that and look back on why are the things that they're doing is really important to them, and go to that motivation of what is it that they really want to achieve, and why do they want to achieve it. And then let's look at the decisions they're making based on that goal, because it's their goal, right? It can't be my goal. But a lot of times they say, Chris, I want to get in better shape in the gym. I want to feel healthier. I want to make sure, I want to lose body fat. This, that, mostly around weight. But the decisions that they're making on a daily basis and what they're putting in their mouth aren't congruent with the goal. And sometimes they don't change that. That's probably one of the biggest ones. And a lot of the other ones are relationship, driven. And so it's like my relationship with my kids, my relationship with my spouse, my relationship with my employer. And usually what we find out is that we got to figure out why they have a bad relationship with themselves. So if you want better relationships in your life, you have to have a relationship with yourself. A lot of that comes down to, again, are you willing to make the decisions, the right decisions to change what you're doing so you don't keep sabotaging yourself. So when you look at the goal, are you willing to make the decisions to really achieve that goal? Most people say they are, but how they live, they're not, right? And most of it always is around food and exercise, because that's an easy thing for people to talk about. I want to get in better shape. As soon as we start to peel that back, I have them write down, what they eat on a daily basis, and I say, okay, are you willing to change those? Then that's where the big excuse list comes. So again, those are decisions that they're making that aren't the right decisions. And all I can do is really bring awareness to that and help them make those decisions, and hopefully they'll follow through. Was that what you were looking for, Dan?
I think that the main take home from what I was getting from your answer was that it's really relative, right? It's based on what your personal goal
Whatever their personal goal is. Yeah. So it's got to start with that goal, willingness to change, and then making the right choices and decisions. Remember, we're all here today based on our choices and decisions. Are your choices and decisions congruent with your goal? That's why I came down with desire, time, money, and people. Because you better have the desire, you're going to have to put some time into it, you're going to have to spend some money, and you're going to probably need people to help you. Anybody else?
So most of this information is in your book, that's the main place.
Some of the stuff is in the book, yeah.
Okay.
The book I wrote was for kids like the age of 14 to kind of 25, so it's not that it's dumbed down a little bit, but we went to a little higher level here today. But some of the principles are in that book.
Could this be online at any point?
It could be. Yeah. Some of the stuff's in the handout, and then, if you want, I can get it. I'll probably put it online. I think it's recorded today, right? Did we get it recorded, Dan? You think it happened? Or?
Yeah, I'm working on getting the recording up for people to download on Ustream. It's $10. All the way goes to the Movie Warrior project.
Corey had one, then back to you one.
For the stuff that's not in the book, can they work with people on?
Yes. Yeah. So my website, phone number, and email's on there. Anything specific that you guys want to kind of talk about and look at? Thanks, Corey. Just shoot me an email or give me a call. Because again, I kind of went the 30,000 view here, and everybody's got different goals. And so I like to really individualize the goals so that we can get you to that finish line. So thanks, Corey.
Kind of in line with what Corey was asking, Chris, for those of us that, really, really want to move forward, and take our success to another level. I mean, is there an opportunity to work directly with you? I mean, are you taking on new coaching clients? I mean, what does it take to qualify for that?
Yeah, no, that's great. I will take on coaching clients, very picky. So I'll meet with any of you here in the room for an hour, free assessment. Look at what it is that you want to do, and you've got to be willing to commit for at least 3 months, minimum. A year preferably, depending on the goal, okay? I'm putting some other programs together right now to do some more group stuff. That's not ready to go yet, but if you really want to have the breakthrough and reach some goals, it's better to do that one-on-one anyway. But you gotta just know that you gotta come with a willingness to want to change, invest, and commit to at least 3 months. We've got a life of stuff to unveil. It's not going to happen in 90 days, and that's just a starting point. Okay? So, if you guys want to do that, absolutely open to doing some individual coaching. And what I can tell you is that if you do the things that I will help you do, I guarantee you'll get results. Guarantee you'll get your money back. Period. Ironclad guarantee. But you've got to be willing to do what it's going to take. Because I can assure you that you will cross the finish line better than ever if you apply some of these principles. So I'm taking 35 years of experience and I'm going to pour it into you in a very accelerated way, because I'm all about results fast. But stuff that you will learn for the rest of your life, principles that you will take through the rest of your life.
You mentioned being a rebel and not listening to the naysayers. If, coincidentally,
Is that why?
you've been doing things that weren't typically down the middle road for many years, and you've been hearing this for years.
Yeah.
How do you reprogram to do all this present work, which I think is amazing? It's all this. Because we heard from relatives, friends, people in the same business, how do you clean up all that from before while you're trying to do all this great positive right here?
That's where we need to sit down and do some coaching, because what I have an exercise, just one of them, that I will have you write out. It's an exercise that will get you to write out your life as long as you can remember up until at least 18.
Well, I have a book, so you can just read my book.
Okay. But were you honest in the book? No. Normally, to answer that question, what it is there's programs running in your mind because of all that, and I'm going to help find those programs so that we can get rid of those programs. That's how we have to do it. It's the only way. And then again, it comes down to a willingness and what? A decision that I'm going to change. I'm sick and tired of this. It's not serving me well, but I need somebody to help me unravel, why is it that I keep operating this way? And usually we'll find that within this little writing class, or if I spend enough time with you, I can almost pinpoint it right away, just from working with so many people. And we all struggle with something. And it's old programs that we usually put into our mind before the age of 10.
I was just talking about a friend.
Oh. Did I answer your question though? Okay. Anything else? Who wants to go to the next level of life? We don't want to end up with any regrets. I tell you, because that is a motivator for me. I sure don't want to be laying in my deathbed there, having said I wish it could have, should have, would have. Darn it, we're gonna end up there someday. But the way we want is we want the light bulb just to go out, poof, we're gone, and we did everything we wanted to do, and we're on to the next life there. Chad, anything else?
No, but thank you very much, Chris. That was amazing. Okay.
It's not traditional, not
Right. So as you can see by looking at our facility, right, we have no mirrors. Good.
I'd rather do
Roughly,